Well, we've been discussing Nick Saban's departure from Alabama, retiring. He's off to do TV stuff, and he has spoken about just sort of the changing landscape of college football, NIL, having to, talk to people about whether or not he's going to be there for the next couple of years, trying to convince coaches to want to stick around, to convince players to want to stick around because players are talking about money now. Like, there's just a lot of things that have changed. He did an article with ESPN kind of breaking down all of that. He also talked about how he was disappointed in his players' reaction to their loss to Michigan in the Rose Bowl. Just saying, listen, you got to win with class. You got to lose with class. I don't like the way our players acted after the game. We had our opportunities in that game, and then showing our ass and being frustrated and throwing helmets and doing that stuff. That's not who we are and what we promoted in our program. But wanted to be clear, that had nothing to do with his decision to walk away. That simply was his reaction to his final game as Alabama coach. And then we discussed this a little bit yesterday. Chip Kelly just kind of laying it out like he did, talking about his departure from UCLA and also what led to him thinking about the decision to leave UCLA, go to Ohio State, and become an offensive coordinator in Columbus.
When we were preparing for our bowl game, I actually coached quarterbacks during the bowl game, and I just started to think, like, I hadn't actually coached a position since 2008. And I think my wife remarked, she's like, I haven't seen you this happy in a long time. And to me, the best part of football is football. And so you got to do football and not do some of the things that involve with the head coaching deal. And I started to look into, is there an opportunity? And it would have been the right spot to go somewhere and just coach a position again and be back with that group. Because I think as a head coach, you sit in on position meetings, but then you're always getting pulled out. And there's other things that are involved with being a head coach. And I think it's more of a CEO operation right now. So I just thought at the time that, there's a story about John Lennon when he was a little kid that had an assignment of what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be happy. And then his teacher said, I don't think you understand the assignment. And his mom said, I don't think you understand life. So I just want to be happy.
So there are some
teacher.
Yeah, I mean, it's good.
It sounds like there needed to be a role reversal there, I guess.
It worked out for Chip. He's done well for himself, and now he's going to get to be happy again and go coach, position groups and coach an offensive coach one side of the ball, not have to worry about all the other crap that comes along with it. I don't know. It makes sense to me, man. Like, there has been a lot of stuff thrown on the table of head coaches, and I get the idea of just going back to your grassroots and wanting to do what made you fall in love with the position in the industry to begin with. So it makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me, too, in the sense that, unfortunately, the head coach of a college football team is no longer a head coach. And I think for a while, maybe this has been the case to some degree, where you've been tasked with recruiting, you've been tasked with fundraising from donors for facilities or other things you're trying to stay ahead on. You're really wearing the hat of a CEO. And I think for some coaches who are more established, they've probably realized that, and they've set up their organizational structure that way, where they let their coordinators coach and they oversee all of it. But for some coaches who are still trying to establish themselves, when you come from defense or offense, you're still trying to, create from a micro level the structure of what you're hoping to see from your position coaches, from your staff recruiting and evaluating players and how you're developing them. And once you get to a point where you're established enough, then you can start kind of anointing someone. Okay, I can take that off my plate of calling plays. I'll let so-and-so do it, and I can just oversee the whole thing now. It takes time, stability, and that's very rare in today's world in college football. And I think now when you add in NIL, that makes the entire mix of this college football realm so similar to professional football, yet these coaches don't have the resources of a NFL franchise. At least I should say the great majority don't. So for a lot of these coaches that have been in the game for a while and love the game of football, whether it's developing young people or scheme, that is such a small percentage of their job. And that's got to be tough. And I think with Nick Saban's words, you heard that obviously on the way out. And with Chip Kelly, it's like, yeah, some of these guys just want to get back to coaching football. They don't really have to be having conversations about what so-and-so is being paid or how much they're going to be paid if they come back. It's like, is it like I understand, like, I'm not faulting parents and players for not wanting to try to maximize their market value. But there is a longer-term play here as far as educational components and longer-term value of what you get with your degree when you go to a Penn State, for example, or Ohio State or anyone else we're talking about, UCLA. You know, there is a grander plan there. And look, I get it. Everyone's trying to make the NFL. Everyone's trying to make, you know, that sort of NFL money and have a Hall of Fame career. A small percentage of guys actually do it. And so you're trying to set yourself up for all those things. But if you're so focused on the NIL and the short-term, you know, money bag, if you will, right now, you're going to miss out on making the right decision for your long-term future. And unfortunately, I think that's where a lot of players' parents are. And I don't fault them for it, but I feel like some probably have maybe a little better perspective, but most probably don't. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that my parents, and again, this is not their own fault, you know, and I don't know how anyone could be. But when you have, like, you're the first generation to go to a Division I school to play sports at a high level, it's a daunting thing, whether it's going to camps and recruiting and everything else. Now you've got NIL involved. It's daunting for a lot of these parents and people who are caretakers. And then even the NFL, selecting an agent, all those things. So it's an incredible, you know, task to take on for all parties involved. And I think because we're in such new territory, it makes it hard for everyone. But I see it from the perspective of Chip Kelly and Nick Saban for sure.
It was already hard being a CEO of a team and at a school like UCLA, just based upon the qualifications to get into UCLA. And some people may not realize that, but it's definitely tougher for them to be able to recruit, because some of those players that you would be able to take in at another institution that's competitive against you, their requirements aren't as high. And so you're the CEO of a team where you're basically being told you're the CEO and you have to hire and bring in these employees to make your team a competitive team, but you're not able to bring in the same type of employees that are going to make you just as competitive as some of the other schools out there and the employees that they're bringing in. And so to me, I almost feel like, while I do agree with, you know, and I talked to a few coaches over the last month or so, and just the idea and the understanding of just being able to coach, that actually really is a conversation that is going on, and it's prevalent right now based upon all of the new stuff that's going on. But make no mistake about it, Chip Kelly was on the hot seat.
Right, that's true.
And to have a opportunity like Ohio State fall into your lap the way that it did, he averts having a situation where it's up to chance in a lot of ways, that, you know, maybe he was fighting an uphill battle to keep his job as the UCLA head coach. Who knows how much longer he holds that position for? You know, you have the how new is the athletic director? I think the athletic director is pretty new.
He would have been fired in season if they struggled. That's how thin.
So that's, to me, knowing that you're fighting against, he was probably already frustrated and just how to manage what he was doing there. But he's been there quite a while. Like he had a good run at UCLA. So I just think that he saved himself a situation where now I'm looking for a job and I'm taking this job. This is an amazing opportunity, and you know you'll have success there. And then now that sets him up for whatever his next situation and coaching would be. And he gets an opportunity to kind of take a step back and say, not step back as in professionally speaking, but a step back to say, hey, I'm coaching offensive coordinator, coaching the offense here at a great school. And now I can decide if I want to go back to being a head coach this level or another one.
It's going to be weird for him seeing a stadium more than 50% full, too. That's going to be odd.
I was going to say, I wonder how that played a factor into it. Just the overall atmosphere. No disrespect to Southern California, but, you know, just the overall atmosphere, you know, there, comparatively speaking. I mean, look, when you go to Happy Valley, and you see 100,000 plus, like it's going to be a wake-up call for I think a lot of these student athletes, in particular in football, when you play in those sorts of arenas, and that's every week.
Yeah.
Ohio State 100,000, Michigan 100,000, Penn State 100,000. Like you go to Madison, Wisconsin for jump around. Michigan State, East Atlantic's nasty. Like these are environments that, and I'm not disrespecting Pullman or Corvallis, but it's different, man. Like I literally, when working with Matt Leinart, working with, when Reggie was there, obviously Mark Ingram played in the SEC, so he got a sense for what it's like. But when Matt and Reggie would like pull up to Iowa City, and this is a little nod to Sam, and you see people tailgating 4 hours before the game, they're like, dude, this is packed. Like, what's everyone here for? Like, this is what it's like, dude. Like, this is
what's
how
everybody here for?
This is how football is. It's a way of life. It's different. To Chip Kelly though, think about this. Like, to your point, Jonas, he won 25 games the last 3 years there.
He's done a good job, man.
He's done a great job.
Yeah.
And like he kind of took over, was somewhat of a mess. The first 2 years it wasn't great, but by 2020, which by the way, COVID, go ask Michigan how they fared through COVID. A lot of teams struggled. They were almost 500 that year, and then they went 8-4, 9-4, 8-5. Finished at a bowl win this. I mean, he did I thought a pretty solid job of building up the foundation of UCLA for Deshaun Foster moving forward. But also probably, like, even if he was in the hot seat, like, knowing, like, if he's not able to give himself to the players the way he wants to, if he's not happy as a coach too, you can feel that as a player. Like, you can feel when a coach, it feels like he's getting clipped or is coaching for his job, and it's desperate, and it's not like the guy that you maybe met when you first got there when you were being recruited or early on in your career. Like, you don't want a player to have to endure that either. Like, I think not only could you make the case, like, yeah, he might have saved himself by going to Ohio State and all that, I think he also saved those players in a certain manner and allowing them to have a coach that's enthusiastic, excited, and kind of might rejuvenate a little bit of some of that energy there, where if Chip just felt like he was a lame duck head coach going into the season.
Yeah, it's going to be good for Chip Kelly. All right, get out of Siberia and go to some place you can actually have a football game in front of real fans.